Hope on the Hard Road podcast, where you and your family can find community, find encouragement, and find hope for the road ahead.
And every time things were like that awful, she would say, "This too shall pass." And then she would say, when everything's really good, "This too shall pass." So it's just, there is an ebb and a flow in life. And sometimes it's really tricky and difficult. And sometimes it's magnificently beautiful. But we always come out of it onto the other side.
Hey guys, we're excited you joined us today. This is such a great episode. Our families know all too well the endless amount of documentation required of us just to get through the day, let alone to plan for the future. Medication charts, daily schedules, appointment calendars, there is just so much to track. Our guests today get it. And what's more, they've created something to help.
Joel and Debbie have 3 children, including their 24-year-old daughter, Danielle, who is diagnosed with nonverbal autism. After first documenting Dani's life in files stored on a computer to be sure that if something happened to them, family or caregivers could step in and understand Dani's everyday needs, Joel knew there had to be a better way. So in 2023, he and his new business partners launched the Dani Plan and created a tool that would give caregivers an easy way to document, update, store, and share every detail of their loved ones' lives in a secure and safe environment. We can't wait for you guys to hear the details, so let's listen in. Well, hey, Joel and Debbie, this is so great to have you guys on the podcast today.
Yeah, super excited.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your family, your history, and what got you all into this?
So we are a family of 5. It's Joel and I. We are actually college sweethearts. We've been together for a very long time. And we had our first child when I was 28. That's our daughter, Dani. We have 3 children altogether. We have Dani, who's our oldest, and we have Alexandra, Alex, who's our middle, and Charlie, who is our youngest. And basically, when Dani was a baby, about 18 months old, we were down in Florida visiting with Joel's parents. And Joel's sister has a daughter who's just a couple months younger than Dani. And there were a lot, she was our first. And so we didn't always recognize different signs and suggestions that she wasn't tracking like every other kid her age. And when we spent a week with another young girl who was a baby, who was same age as Dani, we were really noticing that Dani didn't seem to be doing the same things that she was doing. And so we came home from that trip. We had a lot of conversation and we decided to get her tested. And that was really what started our autism journey at 18 months old for Dani, and just carried on from there.
We would love to hear, your experience with that diagnosis process and just what was it like for your young family at that point?
We decided to take her and get her tested, and we went through the whole battery of testing, a full neuropsych exam, and they came back with not autism. I think they were being gentle in the moment, but they said PDD-NOS.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, that's not autism. This is good, right? I started doing all my research and I just didn't buy it. I didn't care what these people were selling me. Like, I did not have a child with autism, and we were determined to not have a child with autism. So everything I could do, we had her in hours of support services, anything we could do or get in order to combat this suggested diagnosis. We were not buying it. I was not having it. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of my reaction to it. Joe was a little bit more, reasonable in the moment. I was not. My head in the sand and hands over my ears, and it was not happening to my kid.
I don't know if I was more reasonable. I was definitely probably more believing that this is very possible based on, the situation. Certainly very scary for us. It's not the picture and the vision you have. This is our first child, and we expected to have a child that was like most other children that are, going through the same milestones. It's kind of the vision that you have, and it's going to have that same experience with, their friends and go to school when they're supposed to, and all of those type of things. And so for me, it was, I think we both did to some extent. Debbie was a little more like, I'm just going to beat this. And I was probably a little more in a why me phase. I would definitely like in a little bit of like pity party for us and that my vision wasn't, and how could this be? And I think it was a scary moment for us. I always say, in a weird way, I think there's like almost like a mourning, and like you're mourning the loss of what your vision for life is going to be. That's at least how it started, for sure. And then it was chaos when she was young, and she was, a lot, and she was moving around, and she didn't sleep well. We used to,
Mhm.
have those moments. She wouldn't go back to sleep. I'm sure you guys resonate with a lot of this. And like when you hear your baby, when it's your first baby, and they're like noise, you're like, no, please don't wake up. But they're going to go back to sleep. With Danny, it was like, oh man, if she's up, she could be up for 3 hours straight. So
Mhm.
it was scary. And then we were chasing her around all the time. And it was, and doing everything and anything to try to, I guess, fix, so to speak, at least the way we looked at it back then, or help kind
Mhm.
of, get her communicating and doing all the things that we wanted her to do. So,
We often find parents handle it different. They process the grief different, and it is grief, right?
Oh, without a doubt, and knowing that too. I mean, we talk to a lot of parents, and some of the stuff that we do as an organization is wrap around these families, and that is a different journey and a different timeline, often from dads and moms and so forth like that. And then sometimes they intersect, and dads are struggling more at a later time, and moms are now on a plan. But that commonality, oh, you have a problem, let's now go fix it, is very common. And then you start running into it. Wait, there's more than just trying to fix this. There's trying to rediscover life and redefine life, I suppose, is what it is. And so maybe as we move forward, like what was kind of life before you kind of had the diagnosis, and then how did that transition into the after the diagnosis and starting to make family work?
before diagnosis, I think there was just a lot of like question marks, just a lot of, I wonder why this, I wonder why that, but maybe ignoring or just thinking, oh, it'll come. Everybody has, yes, she's not hitting certain milestones and this and that, but everybody says, oh, it all happens at their own time. You hear so much of that, right?
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot of that, a lot of, it'll happen when it happens type of thing. That was definitely the before experience, I guess. But my sister, when we were in Florida, thought maybe she had a hearing problem. And I was like, yeah, maybe she does have a hearing problem, because she wasn't like staring at, she wasn't looking people in the eyes and those type of things. So,
Yeah, the after it was kind of a slow reality for me. Like I said, I really resisted the diagnosis for a long time. So as she got a little bit older and I realized like this wasn't going away and these therapies were not going to fix her, and it was becoming our reality. It was really emotional. It was like Joel said, it's a mourning, if you will. So
Mm.
I definitely went dark for a little while. Like, head under the covers. I'm like, I'm not getting out of bed, but we did, and we did everything we could to help her. We've been huge advocates for her whole life, but it was not easy. It was definitely, and then we had another kid, and wow, we decided we did want to have more kids. We went through a battery of testing before we did that. We wanted to find out if what could potentially be obvious in a next child. And they gave us like this low percentage that autism, perhaps it was like a point, I don't even remember. I'm not going to say, but like point or 0.25, something small. And so we did it. This poor kid. I mean, everything she did, I was like, we have to get her an OT quick. Like
Mm.
I was really afraid of what that would look like for her. I was on a slow schedule for vaccines. I was really worried about giving her vaccines. Got her into all kinds of OT. She used to walk on her tiptoes. She didn't like certain tastes. She didn't put like things in her mouth, which would be a dream for most parents.
Yes.
And she didn't put
she
stuff in her
wouldn't
mouth.
put
I was like,
anything in her mouth that freaked
put
us out.
this in her mouth. I'm like shoving dirty stuff in. I just wanted her to be typical.
Yeah.
So we ended up putting her in OT at like 8 months old, which was probably a little over the top, but it was just sort of, I guess, PTSD from our first experience. So we tried to combat it that way. I ate a specific way when I was pregnant. I mean, nothing. I had all my fillings pulled out of my teeth and refilled with like, it was like a whole thing.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah, I had them take out all what was the metal that they used to do for fillings?
Yeah. Yeah. The silver and
Yeah, and they were saying how that could potentially be toxic for babies. So,
yeah.
I mean, oh, and I replaced it with porcelain. That's what it was. So all kinds of
Yeah.
crazy to try to combat anything second round. But
Yeah.
Al's good. She
Oh,
has her own stuff, but no autism.
we hear you. We hear you. I
Mhm.
mean, we are in that same time frame, your family and ours, where there just was not enough known. And there still isn't really with the reasons for why diagnosis happen, why autism occurs. But there is more known. And back then it was, I remember all of that. Every single step of that was things that we contemplated and had to work through too. So gosh, we hear you guys. How has it affected over the years, the other siblings and the way that you handle the balance and also really marriage and all the things that we have to balance, right? Work and household and caring for siblings. How did you guys find balance?
We talk about it all the time, actually, about our other two and how they were impacted. And I think that we kind of feel like there's probably a lot of pros and empathy, and there's probably some cons. I mean, we remember for sure when Danny became when Alex, our middle one, ended up going to high school with Danny. She was a little embarrassed. She struggled for a little while with Danny being her sister. It took her a little bit of time to build up the confidence to care, and now she's her biggest advocate. It's a totally different thing. She's 22 now, and it didn't actually take her that long. Even by the time she was probably like a junior in high,
Right, but Danny did pull, in Alex's fairness, Danny did pull the fire alarm at the high school. They cleared out the entire school.
Yeah, and there was like a moment also with Danny like yelling it through the school, and Alex had to be like, "Yep, that's my sister." And
Totally.
at that point, I think she was okay, but early on, I think like freshman year in high school, that was a struggle for, as you can
Oh
imagine, for
yeah.
a
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
teenager going through that at her age. But I think they've been, I think, mostly good. And then I think for Deb and I would say we're a couple that came together mostly and were stronger and certainly added stress to our lives, especially when Danny was younger. But I think we got stronger because of it. I think we came together, and I think our marriage is. Well, you hear a lot of people say that it really can interfere in a marriage, but I think for us it brought us together, just kind of working together, fighting together. Say we're not going to let this impact our life in a negative way, and we're not going to like become unhappy people or this or that because we have a child who struggles. Danny was a lot for a long time, and had a lot of OCDs and very needy and a lot of energy and things that she did that were made us have to have a lot of attention. She's 25 now, and she's really kind of come into her own, just kind of just like all of us, has become an adult. And true story, we call her our easy kid. There's a lot of truth behind that. So I just wanted to make sure we reflected on how hard it was and what it became. But I think it evolved to, she really is in a lot of ways our easy kid. She's also inspiring because she's someone who's just happy, like in the small stuff in life. She
Yeah.
has no vanity. She doesn't get FOMO about not being included. She's just a happy kid if she's walking down the street holding her dog or listening to her music. She's always present. It's almost like when she was young, there was some, like, it felt almost like a burden, and it was a lot. And now it's almost the opposite. I think Debbie and I mostly look at her as an inspiration and just a pleasure to be with. We go to her to dinner. She never complains. Like if I was with any of my typical kids and we were at the mall and we were in a store they didn't want to be in for more than like 3 minutes, they'd be like, "Can we go?" Danny will sit with us for like an hour, zero complaints, right? She'll go to dinner with us anytime we want and just be happy. And she's really evolved into such an amazing kid and someone really inspiring that I think we could all learn from. Someone said to me recently, maybe we're the ones with the disability, right? We're like the ones who are always stressed out about life and like can't get present and right or and this and that. So
Mhm.
That is beautiful. Just the gift of presence. I think Eleanor Roosevelt has a quote about that. It's like the presence, it's a gift. That's why they
yeah,
call it the present. Out of that came the Dani Plan. So we would
yes.
love for you guys to share your heart and what it is.
It really started with Debbie and I just sitting down on the couch probably around 5 years ago, talking about Danny and what, like, kind of the worst case scenario. We're not around anymore, and how are people going to know how to take care of Dani the way we want her taken care of, keeping her happy and healthy and safe. And we were talking about things like making sure her iPhone is charged so she can communicate, or she has her headphones on so she can block out noises. Dani sleeps with this pink blanket. I'm sure there's we could go back and forth for like an hour with all the
Totally.
nuances, right, of our children and the things they need in their lives to just kind of keep them at peace, right? It was really after that we just decided we really owed it to Dani to document her life in a way that other people would really understand. And we felt like we owed it to future caregivers. And we also felt like we owed it to ourselves to document her life, and that we actually did it in a Word document. And the whole time we just felt like it was a really clunky and not intuitive way of building out a plan. And that was really the inspiration around creating the Dani Plan, which is a centralized hub to help consolidate and organize all the information needed to properly care for a loved one with a disability. So it's simple and secure and easy to update, and then easy to share. So what started out as this insurance policy, right? Like if we're gone, future caregivers know how to take care of Dani. It turned into really an amazing daily tool to be able to share with rotating caregivers and teachers and doctors and therapists with all the things that we're constantly re-explaining about our children.
Debbie, Joel had showed us a little bit about what you have created with Dani's daily routine, and just going behind the scenes on this is her favorite item and this is where we put it. And, all of those details that it is more difficult to just share in a Google Doc or a Word doc. And yes, I'd love to have you guys share a little bit about sort of how it works. What does it look like on a daily basis?
Basically, you create your plan, right? You've seen the dashboard and the different things within it, right? So it's beautiful, color coded. We use really pretty icons, a butterfly to represent life. We have an intro statement at the top that represents our loved ones. That was really important for Joel and I as we created a document about our kids. We really wanted their essence or energy represented in the plan, not just another black and white sterile document for our kids. So we were really mindful in the way we created it so that it kind of represented our kids and had a warmth about it. But as you're filling out these different tiles, it's so simple. You just click on routines, create a routine, and you can do a step by step. You can kind of do your information different. You can do bullets or numbers. But as I spell out, let's say a morning routine for Dani, I can do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So I now have every routine organized for somebody. And if I had a new caregiver in our house, I don't necessarily bring anyone new and let them stay with Dani, but if I had to, they could follow a step-by-step routine and take care of Dani the way we want her cared for, because I was able to list it out in a way that's really easy to understand. And so you can do that with everything, with all these tiles, just putting the information in a way that is clear, concise, easy to write down, easy to understand, easy to share. And any of the stuff that we have in our heads that we can get down into this format is now organized and easy for you to share with other stakeholders in your child's life. And just knowing for yourself that I now have every one of Dani's routines listed in her Dani Plan and able to share if I need to is really helpful.
It might take time to really input all this information, but it's such a valuable thing to have all of these areas covered over time so that someone else, a third party, as you mentioned, Debbie, stakeholders in our child's life will have that valuable information.
Yeah. And I was just thinking we just went away for a couple days, right? Yeah. And then some people, you just take off and go off on vacation. But to have somebody come and stay and take care of your child, all the steps that you have to do and write them all out and all the medications, realizing, that's ongoing. It's in your head and you constantly do it. But to translate that to somebody else to make sure it's tidy. And when you come back, things are fine.
And I would say, thank God for Debbie, because if I were to do the morning routine, I'd be get her up, brush her teeth, give her some food and get her out of the house. Debbie's wake her up, let her stir for a few minutes, the way it's supposed to be done. She's got a dozen steps. But you're right. There is a decent amount of heavy lifting up front. Yeah. But what I also tell people is there's no real race in getting it done, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Most people don't have anything. If we do, it's really unorganized. Everything's kind of all over the place. And that's one of the biggest things. I mean, we hear from people all the time, thank you, or we're feeling so much stress relief, so much peace of mind, organized, it's productive, like all of these things. But Debbie does a great job when like she onboards of just saying, hey, what would work well for you? Like, do you want to do a little bit every day, or you want to just do a couple times a week for a half hour? Now, the only thing we tell people is put it in your calendar, because if it's not on your calendar, you're not going to do it. We're all too busy. And so that's the only thing that we recommend. But if you just work on it a little bit every week within no time, you'll have a pretty complete plan. And it's just about keeping updated. It's pretty easy to do that because it's really mobile friendly. On the fly, you can tweak a medication, you can add a new food, a new behavior, whatever it happens to be. It's pretty easy to do. So,
what are some of the areas that it covers? You mentioned medical, you mentioned behaviors. So, what about like conservatorship paperwork, things like that, that families want to sort of put into one place? And that I think is the idea, right?
there is absolutely finances, legal, there's some of those things. That's like a given. You got to have all the finances in there, all the legal, because those are the things that the new guardians, the people who take over, are going to definitely need to know. Our kids don't generally care about that stuff. What they care about is getting the food they want or making sure you've got their likes or their dislikes in there. So those are the things that are really going to keep them happy. It's pretty intuitive and has quite a few different categories down to behaviors, medical.
We have education, employment for the older kids, social activities. Like, and underneath each of these categories, we have 15 main categories. And then each category has subcategories. So under and about me, there's like there's like likes, dislikes, strengths. Key people as pets, caregivers, friends, family, things like that. So each of the main categories has subcategories. So it's really a very robust plan. But what's really fantastic is it's so easy to customize, so that if there's something that you want in your plan that doesn't exist, we have an add a category tile where you can quickly create a category within seconds.
Oh, that's perfect.
So after you fill out your plan, if you feel like something's missing or you want to add something else, it's very easy to do that as well.
I was talking to a gentleman and yesterday about he's going through his plan, and he was telling me a story about his adult son, 25, also has autism, and they were going out for ice cream. And he said the son was taking these huge bites, and he looked at his son and he said, "Hey, don't take such a big bite." And his son said, "I don't like that. I don't like that." And as we know with our kids, they can get very persistent and repetitive. And he just kept saying, so he goes, "Okay, you don't like that." And he went right to his Dani Plan to dislikes and said, "Don't tell him not to take big bites." There are so many of those little things. Again, like I think it would just be fun one day to get on with all the, everybody in our community and just say, let's just share some of these quirky little nuances, those things that we have to have in the Dani Plan. Dani doesn't do this anymore, but talking about when she was young, she loves lemons. So like we would have to watch her, they put like lemons in your like drinks, the waters or something. We'd be at a restaurant and she'd be like the Hamburglar, and she'd like grab somebody's lemon out of their water we would guard her guardrails around her when she was young. She knows now. Those are like one of the things we would have to have written in there, like watch her around lemons. She'll steal anybody's lemon.
That is so great, because that's really respecting our loved ones. That is just respecting them. That's giving them autonomy. And honoring where they're at. And those things can change over time. And so that's nice too, that you have that changeability within the system.
Many of our families are going to want to know how they can get a hold of this plan and make this a part of them. And I know that, states differ. We're in California, so obviously there's some nice things going on in our state, but maybe you can share on like kind of a broad scale and then maybe some specifics of how people can get this plan for their families.
First of all, I mean, you can always go to our website at daniplan.com, look through it, sign up. We don't only have Dani Plan Disability, but we also have one called Dani Plan Aging for aging parents or ourselves if we are aging. We also have one called Dani Plan Life, which is just for the idea of, having a place for everything if anything happens to us. There's lots of stories like that. So it's really just this all-in-one hub. So the website's a great place to start. If you're interested in doing a demo or going to a webinar, you can also go there and email support if you'd like. Get a hold of customer service. There's a link there for it. Lots of webinars we put on often. So that's a good place to come and see a demo.
I would say that's the best place is going to DaniPlan.com and just exploring the website and then reaching out to us. It doesn't necessarily have to be with a membership off the bat. We have a 14-day free trial. So if you just want to like try it out and see what you think, we have that option. Like Joel said, you can email customer service, hop on the phone with me or Joel at any time. We do demos all day, every day. So we're happy to meet with anybody and just kind of share and show our plan and just give you an idea of what a complete plan looks like and kind of walk you through and show you some of the features and easeability. And then, like Joel said, we do put out webinars quite often. So if you just get on our mailing list, we do email with our upcoming webinar dates all the time. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram. And
when you're looking at future planning, what do you guys recommend for families? Like as they're looking at it, and they're starting to plan, what are kind of some areas that you would advise families to think about to start planning for, just in kind of a general sense, having the experience that you guys have?
But I think you can start a plan when your kid is 5, 10, 15. The earlier you start this plan, the better. So it's all future planning, right? I met with somebody the other day, his child was 3, and she says, is it too early to start? I said, no, because the more you start now, you'll have it when you get there. When Joel and I went to go for guardianship in the state of Michigan at age 18, it was crazy. We were missing so much of our documentation that it was like a full-time job getting all the paperwork together that we needed to go for guardianship and for supports from the state. It really is overwhelming. And so the earlier you start accumulating and sorting and organizing these documents, the better. So I would say like the earlier you get some, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Dani plan, but a plan or a system where you are organizing your stuff. Because down the road, when you need it, you're going to want it to be in one place. I really think the legal and financial is huge, of course, kind of, I guess, like Joel was saying on the back end, right? Those are the really important pieces. But just knowing our kiddos, and, Dani is non-speaking, so we are her voice. So making sure that all of her needs, her wants, her wishes, her requests, the things that we know when we make eye contact with her that she's asking us for, we need to make sure that we have that in writing because we need someone to know what we automatically know. So it's really about that. It's really being a voice for your kid, advocating for your kid, and making sure their needs and desires are going to be met when you're not here.
I think it's a gift for your child for sure, in that you're like, kind of saying this is what they need to be happy. It's out there for them. And you're not leaving people to figure out, right? So they're not in chaos. It's also a gift for yourself. I mean, if we all of us, that are listening right now that have children with disability, our biggest fear a lot of times passing before they do, because who's going to take care of them? And I really believe this is probably other than not dying, which none of us have figured out how to do, is to have a plan and to make sure that what she wants lives on after you. So there's a peace of mind. I think that it's a gift to yourself. I really believe that you're giving to plan. And I always say this. I mean, our goal is to just inspire you to do a plan. We're biased to the Dani Plan because we think it'll ultimately be easier to update and those type of things. But if we inspire you to just at least do some sort of a plan and keep it updated, that would be the biggest goal.
What is one thing you'd like to leave with our listeners that will bring hope for the road ahead?
I don't know about hope. I only have our own experience. And people always say things just work out. I think about like our past with, what it was with Dani and what it's like today. And it's really such a wonderful life. I actually always talk about you guys have probably got this, the look when you tell somebody that you have a child with a disability and they kind of give you that look of like a little bit of a pity look. And I always think to myself, well, you don't really, I have a really good life. Like I have a really happy life and she's happier than anybody I know. Right? Like
Dani developed epilepsy at age 18. And with that came a lot of behavior issues. And I won't get into the depths of what that looked like, but it was really quite brutal. To this day, it will go down as the darkest some of the darkest moments we've ever had. I mean, really and truly, where we just were like, what is happening right now? This is terrifying. And are we ever going to be okay? And the truth is, like, and I had a friend who said to me during this, she said, this too shall pass.
Mm.
And every time things were like that awful, she would say, this too shall pass. And then she would say, when everything's really good, this too shall pass. So it's just, there is an ebb and a flow in life. And sometimes it's really tricky and difficult. And sometimes it's magnificently beautiful, but we always come out of it onto the other side. And so it can be really challenging and really hard. And there's always hope on the other end of it. And honestly, like, I don't even know that Joel and I saw that hope then, but now, like, as he's described, Dani's a really happy young woman, and we are so grateful. And a lot of actually what I think came of that journey with her is sort of what, I'm going to bring this full circle now, but it's kind of what prompted us to create Dani Plan. And so I think being in that nightmare situation with her and then realizing, oh my God, if something happens, now what? Really brought us to a place where we were like, we need to make sure like that she can be cared for, because it's a lot. And so I think a lot of the dark days brought really bright, beautiful days.
Thank you guys so much for sharing your story, your heart, and this amazing new product that you've brought to the world and to the families. So we're really excited to see what the future holds. And again, just can't thank you enough for coming on.
Helping families.
Thank you. You guys, by the way, should be thanked too. I mean, what you're doing is amazing, just getting the word out. You're doing amazing work, and you guys both have great energy and are a pleasure to talk to. So thanks for what you're doing. I mean, this is helping a lot of people, I'm sure.
Check out the show notes to find resources and contact information for today's episode.
Yeah, and if you like the podcast, please share it with others and be sure to follow us so you won't miss an episode.
We love to hear from our listeners, so leave us a comment or rating and connect with us on social media or on our website at hopeonthehardroad.org.